I remember being young in elementary school and having a presenter come talk to us about why, if we ever saw a refrigerator on the side of the road, we should not go inside of it. Being young, I often thought I knew the reason behind things and often thought I was right, as many children do. I disregarded people in authority as being unable to contribute much to my strong opinions. And so, as I was listening to this presenter speak about the dangers of discarded fridges, all I kept thinking was, of course I wouldn't go in a refrigerator on the side of the road. I wouldn't want the garbage man to accidentally pick me up and throw me away. You see, the closer I listened to this presenter speak, the sooner I realized the real reason I should never go inside of a refrigerator. Inside of a fridge, air is limited, and if you become stuck, you would suffocate. You see, often when you are young, you form misconceptions and little stories in your head to piece together things you don't quite understand. This is often seen in victims of sexual abuse. In elementary schools, it's often not talked about enough, the detrimental effects of sexual abuse on children. In elementary schools, the fact that 90% of children who have been sexually abused know their perpetrators is simply skipped or skimmed over. You see, I remember being young and sitting in class and learning about sexual abuse, but I remember very little. We maybe had a class here and one there, but it was always an awkward conversation and not much was said. Nobody mentioned you possibly could, and most often would, know your perpetrator. And so, I grew up forming the misconception that sex offenders are strangers, people on the side of the street, or people that pull up in the big white van with a free candy sign. You see, this is rarely the case, as in my story. You see, my perpetrator wasn't known to the police. He didn't have a criminal record or an uneasy smile. No, my perpetrator was someone I saw every single day, someone put in place to care for me. He was my stepfather. This is not uncommon. In fact, this most often is the case. Children in this situation don't know how to handle their emotions. It's not talked about at home, and if it is, parents don't usually discuss the likelihood of you knowing your abuser. Children in this situation have a sense of ashamed feelings because they feel they did something wrong, thus giving way to 3 reasons they do not seek help. The first is fear of retaliation. They are afraid this person that's been close to their family and intertwined in their lives will find a way to get back at them for exposing the monster they are, or even hurt the people they love the most. Another reason they do not tell is they are afraid they're going to ruin the relationship. In many cases, including mine, I loved that person. As children, you are taught to trust the people put in place to protect you, thus conflicting with the very emotions of being betrayed by someone you trusted. Children believe they will not be listened to. They are afraid because they have been so close to this person that they will not be listened to. If they cannot tell their parents, who can they tell? Kids are at school roughly 6 hours a day, 6 hours worth of opportunity. The problem isn't the lack of availability on the teacher's part. It's the door seems closed, the conversation isn't open, and the child does not feel it is a topic worth discussing. Children who have been sexually abused cannot escape the negative connotations that follow something they are not responsible for. If we do not discuss the problem at a young age, we miss the chance to protect our children. Our brain is a crazy machine that does unimaginable things. And one of those things is to protect yourself. Children who have been sexually abused often block out memories to cope with pain they endured. And later in life, they will have a relapse or breaking point. This can cause their life in all aspects to fall apart. Teachers having open conversations with students about the necessary steps to seek help will save their future. You see, I hated counseling. I didn't want to talk about how I felt. I was so anxious about it. I'd ask my mom to not tell me of my appointments until the very day before, so I would only have a single day to worry. As much as I hated 3 years of counseling and numerous excuses as to why I was absent so often, it built me into a stronger person. If I saw my abuser today, I could honestly tell him I forgive him. I couldn't have done counseling without my teacher, as he shot down my peers' numerous questions as to why I was absent so often and helped support me through those triggers and struggles that first year. 55% of children who have been sexually abused, they've been abused in their homes, claiming the one place everybody should feel safe. Teachers have a greater impact on students' lives than they could ever know. School was my safe place. I wish I would have realized sooner that friends could love and support me through that hard time. I was convinced it was easier to hide my story, and this made me feel like an outsider. This feeling of isolation was not something I needed to feel, as there were so many people who wanted to love and support me. You never need to feel ashamed about being sexually abused because you did nothing wrong. I cannot stress this enough. No matter what the case, you did not deserve it, and you did absolutely nothing wrong. You do deserve to get to a place in which you are happy and thriving. Seeking help shows the world and your perpetrator how strong you really are. I urge you to never fear sharing your story with your friends. Although it may feel hard to talk about at first, your friends can then understand why you act certain ways you do. Through opening up this difficult conversation, we are helping children who have been sexually abused to not fall into a category or a statistic. Education systems that focus on the dangers of familiar faces are paving a safer future in which everyone has the right to be protected by those in authority. This is coming from someone who was once a victim and is now a victor. My name's Jasmine Yaromich, and I'm unstoppable. Thank you.